Level 1. The body is still warm. You didn't plan it. That's the thing nobody will believe. Not the cartel, not the federales, not the DEA agent who will eventually sit across from you in a gray room. Nobody will believe it wasn't planned because men like Miguel Angel Reyes don't die by accident. He had your brother killed over a debt that wasn't even your brother's, $3,000. He just nodded and went back to his dinner, and your brother was found 3 days later in a drainage ditch outside Culiacan. You spent 4 months thinking about it, watching, learning his patterns, where he ate, which restaurant on Thursday nights, which table, which bodyguard stood where. And then one Thursday night, everything lined up and you made a decision. And now, Miguel Angel Reyes is on the floor of a restaurant bathroom with 2 bullets in him. And you are walking out the side door into the night air, and your hands won't stop shaking. You make it 2 blocks before you have to stop and put your hand against a wall. Your phone is already buzzing. You don't answer it. You think about your brother, about the drainage ditch, about $3,000. Then you start walking again, because in about 4 minutes, someone is going to find that bathroom. And every one of those calls is going to end with your name. You have 4 minutes. Start moving. Level 2. Everyone you know is a target. You go home first. That's your first mistake, and you know it even as you're making it. But your mother is there, and your sister, and you need to see them one more time before everything changes. You have 11 minutes in the house. You tell your mother there's been trouble. You tell her she needs to go to your aunt's house in Hermosillo tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight, right now. You give her all the cash you have, $400 and 9,000 pesos. And you tell her you love her, and you walk out before she can ask questions. Your sister is smarter. She grabs your arm at the door. "What did you do?" she says. You look at her for a long time. You memorize her face the way you do when you know you won't see something again for a very long time. "Go with Mama," you say. "Don't come back to this house." She doesn't let go of your arm. Her eyes are already wet. You unhook her fingers one by one. You walk out. You are 2 streets away when you hear the cars, 3 of them, black, moving fast toward your neighborhood. They're not police. Police use sirens. These men don't need sirens because they don't answer to anyone who requires them. You cut through a yard, over a wall, down an alley. Behind you, you hear your mother's door come off its hinges. They're not looking for evidence. They're looking for leverage, for anyone who matters to you. You think about your mother's face, your sister's fingers on your arm. You run harder. Level 3. Running. The first 3 days are the worst. You sleep for 2 hours in a bus station in Nogales. You eat from a vending machine. You don't use your phone, your cards, your real name. You are nobody. You move only at night and only on foot, and you change direction 3 times before committing to any route. Because somewhere behind you, there are men who do this for a living, and they are very good at it. On the 2nd day, you find out through a contact that your mother made it to Hermosillo. Your sister too. That's the only thing that keeps your legs moving. On the 3rd day, you find out the price, $5 million, American, for information leading to your location. Not for your capture, just your location. They'll handle the rest themselves. $5 million. For a man with $400 and 9,000 pesos who is currently sleeping behind a hardware store in a border town trying not to cough too loudly. You think about all the people who know your face, your name, your mother's address. Your childhood friends who would never sell you out until $5 million is sitting in front of them, and they have 3 kids and a sick wife. And the cartel representative across the table is very calm and very patient and not asking twice. You think about who you can trust. The list gets shorter every time you think about it. By day 4, you have 1 name. A man called Fierro who served time with your cousin and who has been off the grid for 6 years in a small fishing village on the Sinaloa coast. A man who hates the cartel more than he fears it. A man who owes your family something old and real. You start walking toward the coast. It takes you 9 days. Level 4. The price. On your head. Fierro's place is 3 rooms and a fishing boat and a dog that doesn't like strangers. He opens the door, looks at you for a long time, looks past you at the road, then opens the door wider. You eat the first real meal you've had in 2 weeks. He doesn't ask questions while you eat. He waits until you're finished. Then, he puts a tablet on the table and turns it toward you. Your face is everywhere. The death of Miguel Angel Reyes, described in every article as a businessman and community philanthropist, has become a major story. There are politicians calling for investigations. There are vigils. His photograph is everywhere. This kind, generous man, this pillar of the community, this father of 4. And then there's you. Grainy security footage from the restaurant. Your face half turned away but recognizable if you know you. The cartel didn't just put a price on your head. They made you a ghost story. They made you the senseless, violent killer who ended a great man's life for no reason. $5 million, and a narrative that makes everyone who helps you an accomplice to murder. You stare at your own face on the screen for a long time. Fierro refills your coffee. He says nothing. He's been in the life long enough to know there are no words for this particular moment. You close the tablet. You need a new face, you say. A new name, new documents. Fierro looks at you. That costs money you don't have, he says. I know, you say. So I need to make some. Level 5. You can't trust anyone. There's a man in Tijuana who makes documents, the best in the country. New identity, new history, new everything. He costs $40,000. You have nothing. Fierro has contacts, old ones, people from before. He makes calls carefully, never from the same phone twice, never saying names. He finds you a job, not a good one, moving product across a secondary route for an independent operator. Not cartel affiliated, not connected to the organization hunting you, just a small-time smuggler running cigarettes and counterfeit goods through a mountain pass into Arizona. It's 3 runs, $10,000 per run, $30,000 total. Not enough for the documents, but enough to start a conversation. On the second run, you realize the independent operator is not as independent as he said. You find out through something small, a phrase he uses on the phone, a name he mentions once and then catches himself. The kind of detail that doesn't mean anything unless you've spent 4 months studying an organization from the outside and you know exactly how its people talk. He's not cartel, but he has a contact who is, and that contact will eventually mention you to the right person, and the right person will make a call. And the very careful distance you've maintained for 3 weeks will collapse overnight. You finish the run, you collect your money, you shake his hand. And then you disappear before sunrise, and you never contact him again. Fierro says nothing when you tell him. He just nods. He's been waiting for this, you realize. He knew. He sent you anyway because there was no other option, and sometimes no other option is the only option you get. You don't blame him. You just add another name to the list of people you can no longer use. The list of people you can trust is now 1 person long. It's you. Level 6, the deal. The DEA finds you first. That's not as surprising as it sounds. They've been watching the cartel's search for you because the cartel's search for you involves the kind of communications activity that lights up their monitoring systems like a Christmas tree. They know roughly where you are, they know what you did, and they know something the cartel doesn't know yet. That you spent 4 months watching Miguel Angel Reyes before you killed him. Which means you know his patterns, his contacts, his roots, his people. The agent's name is Carver. He's American, early 40s, speaks Spanish like someone who learned it young. He finds you through Fierro, which means Fierro made a call at some point, and you file that information away without reacting to it, because reacting to it won't change anything now. Carver sits across from you in a room in a building you were taken to, in the back of a windowless van, and he puts a folder on the table. Inside the folder is a photograph of your brother, the drainage ditch, the condition he was found in. You look at it without flinching because you have looked at that photograph in your mind every single day for 8 months. Carver says, "You did something very few people have ever done. You got close enough to touch one of the most protected men in the country, and you did it alone with no resources. That tells me you're either insane or exceptional." You say nothing. He says, "We can protect your mother, your sister. We can give you a new identity and move you somewhere they will never find you. You say, in exchange for what? He opens another folder. Names, photographs, routes, locations. Everything you saw in 4 months of watching, he says. Everything you learned. You look at the photographs. You recognize some of the faces. Men who were in that restaurant. Men who made decisions about your brother. You look at Carver. How long, you ask? He says, as long as it takes. You sit with that for a very long time. Then you pick up the pen. Level 7. The new you. Your name is Daniel Mora now. You live in a mid-sized city in a country you had never visited before all of this started. You have a small apartment on the 4th floor of a building near a market. You have a job at a logistics company. Real work, real hours, real pay. Nothing glamorous, nothing that draws attention, nothing that requires you to be memorable. You speak the local language badly but improving. You cook your own food. You walk the same 3 routes to work because Carver told you routine creates invisibility. A man with a routine is a resident, not a fugitive. Your mother calls every 2 weeks on a line that routes through 4 countries before it reaches you. She sounds older. She never asks where you are, and you never tell her. Your sister got married 6 months ago. You watched the first 30 seconds of a video she sent before you had to stop. The work with Carver took 14 months. Safe houses, debriefs, maps drawn from memory, names spoken into recorders. You gave them everything you had, and what you had was enough. 3 significant arrests, 2 route disruptions, 1 seizure that made international news. You testified behind a screen in a closed courtroom. Your voice was altered. Your new name was used throughout. When it was over, Carver shook your hand. He said, "You did good." You nodded. You didn't feel good. You didn't feel bad. You felt like a man who has been carrying something extremely heavy for a very long time and has finally put it down and isn't sure yet what to do with his hands. You walked out into the street of a city that isn't yours and bought a coffee from a vendor who didn't look at your face twice. For the first time in over 2 years, nobody in the world knew where you were except the 4 people paid to protect you. You sat on a bench and drank the coffee and watched people walk past, normal people. People with nowhere to run. You thought about your brother, about a drainage ditch, about $3,000. You thought about a restaurant bathroom and 2 bullets and a side door opening onto night air. You thought about whether it was worth it. You didn't have an answer. You finished the coffee. You went home. Level 8. They never stop. It's been 4 years. You have a different haircut, a beard you didn't have before, 12 extra pounds that changed the shape of your face. You speak the language well now. Your neighbors think you're quiet but friendly. Your coworkers think you're a little distant but reliable. Nobody thinks anything about you that makes them look twice. You have almost convinced yourself it's over. Almost. The first sign is small. A car parked outside your building 3 days in a row. Different car each time, but the same man inside. Different clothes, but the same build, the same habit of looking at his phone while watching the entrance in his peripheral vision. You don't react. You change nothing about your routine. But inside, everything is snapped back to that night in Culiacan, that bathroom, those shaking hands. You contact Carver through the emergency protocol. 48 hours of silence. Then a message. 2 words. We see it. 2 days later, the man outside your building is gone. Carver calls. His voice is careful. They haven't confirmed your location, he says, but they're close. Someone talked, not us. Someone from before. You sit in your apartment in the dark and you think about everyone from before. Fierro, the independent operator, the contacts and the contacts of contacts. Someone from before. You need to move, Carver says. New city, new name. Start again. You look around your apartment. 4 years of a life built carefully from nothing. A coffee maker you bought because it reminded you of your mother's, a plant on the windowsill that you have somehow kept alive. Books in a language that isn't yours that you read slowly with a dictionary open beside you. You think about your brother. You always think about your brother. Was it worth it? You still don't have an answer. You never will. You pack what fits in one bag. You leave the plant on the windowsill. You close the door without looking back. Downstairs, the street is quiet. A car is waiting. A driver you don't know. A city you haven't been told yet. You get in. The door closes. And somewhere on the other side of the world, in a room you will never see, a man is looking at a photograph of your old apartment, your old street, getting closer. They never stop. That's the thing about killing a cartel boss. It doesn't end when he dies. It ends when you do. Or it doesn't end at all.